Hello guys, it's Shrimp Time here and welcome in another video about shrimp keeping. Today I'm going to share a story with you, a very sad story about holidays, about high temperatures and about the truth about this hobby. And I hope that I won't say any more about. So, as you can see, these are survivors of my mistake. I've made a huge mistake during the holidays because I was going for a 1 week flight to have some spare time with my children, and I had to make water changes before that flight. And I only managed to make the water changes in Neocaridina tanks, and I didn't manage to make the water changes in Caridina tanks. And unfortunately, something wrong was with the water. I'm not sure what was the cause of the problem, but the water quality that I was using to make the water change, I think due to temperatures, caused 80-70% of my Neocaridina population to die. I think that there were some kind of bacteria that developed due to the high temperature of the water, because I have very high temperature in my breeding room during the summer. The temperature is going higher and higher each summer. And the water was waiting for the water change for a couple of days. Unfortunately, I had this water mixing all the time, so I was sure that there's nothing wrong with the water because it was mixing. It had the access to the oxygen all the time due to the fact that the water was mixing. There was a pump that was pumping the water from the bottom of my water tank to the top. So everything seems to be okay. After I've made a water change, I didn't go to my breeding room because I did it 1 day before the flight. And I came back about 9 days after the flight, after the water change, and I saw most of my Neocaridinas dead. And the tanks looking awful, looking like there was some kind of poison poured into the tanks. And you have to know that this is a disaster because years of hard work is going backwards. You need to go back. The first thing that I thought was that I am so happy that I didn't manage to make the water changes in Caridina tanks, because imagine what would happen if I would put that water to my Caridina tanks with boas, with purple metallic shrimps, with blue balls, with my black fancy tigers. That would be a disaster, and probably I would leave the hobby. It is much easier to rebuild your strain with Neocaridinas because they breed so fast. But very interesting thing about this mistake was the amount of shrimps that died. It showed me how important it is to manage your water when you are doing water changes, and that the biggest mistake that you can do in shrimp keeping hobby is to make wrong water with wrong water parameters, with some kind of bacteria that can affect your tank. This is the biggest mistake that you can do when you are keeping shrimps. So what I can learn from this mistake, because we need to remember that the most important thing is not to give up, is to learn from your mistakes and to try to fight those mistakes. First thing that I learned is that water circulation in your water change tank may be not enough. It may have or let's say it other words, you need to have more precautions when you are preparing your water for water change, especially if you have high temperatures, so that you will be sure that nothing wrong will happen. What precautions will I take now after this mistake? The first thing is that I will make 2 separate water reservoirs for making water changes, because I have Neocaridinas and Caridinas, and for a long time I was switching the water, mixing the water in one water change tank. Now I'm sure that I will make separate tanks to make water changes. This is the first precaution. Secondly, I will add a special aeration stones, air stones in the tank, and the water for water change will be pumped with oxygen all the time. The third precaution is that I will never make a water change with water that was standing more than 2 days in the tank, so that I will be sure that there will be not enough time for wrong bacteria to develop. Another precaution that is very important for me is cleaning the pipes that I use to make water change. So before making water change, I will put some of the water from the pumps to separate tanks, so I will be sure that there are no bacteria, no pollution inside that plumbing. And I think that this way I will avoid another mistakes and another setbacks. And with this planning, if I will keep my rules when making water change, I will never have the same problem again. I hope, guys, that this video will teach you something, because this is the main idea of those videos. And that my mistake that I've made will save you from making your own mistakes. There are many places in shrimp keeping hobby that we can make the mistakes. But if we'll share our knowledge, and if we will discuss the problems that we have in our tanks, we'll be able to avoid those mistakes. And I hope that this video will also show you that you can't give up in shrimp keeping hobby. You need to remember that even with high amount of experience, with long time of shrimp keeping and of being in the hobby, we can make mistakes as well, and that each breeder, even if he won't tell you that he's making some mistakes, in fact he's making the mistakes. I hope that you like this video. If you do, and if you are interested in more shrimp keeping knowledge, more knowledge about this hobby, you can subscribe and consider supporting me by visiting my shop or here on YouTube. And I hope that you also like the quality of the video, because I'm always trying to improve the quality. And guys, if you are interested in two very unusual tanks, one is on Akadama soil, a very cheap soil for shrimp keeping, and the second tank is run on CO2, a high-tech, we can say, tank with shrimps. It is also possible to run this type of tank. Please go to this video and watch this video. And thank you for your time. And remember, keep on shrimping.